Secretary to the Minister of International Trade.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to participate in the debate about the budget of 2023 as presented by our government and what it means for my constituents and for people right across Canada. What I propose to do is canvass 5 different areas, Mr. Speaker: affordability, healthcare, climate action, housing, and combating hate and discrimination. Mr. Speaker, on that first issue of affordability, what I hear at the doors is very similar to what people around the country and representatives from around the country in this chamber hear at the doors in their own constituencies. The cost of living has gone up. There's a direct link to inflation. Inflation is coming down, thankfully, Mr. Speaker. We heard news just this morning of the 9th consecutive month in which inflation has been reduced. It now sits at 4.3% in the month of March. But that reduction in inflation rates has not been occurring as fast as it needs to. Hence, our government's proposal in this budget, which we'll be voting on shortly, to propose further additional relief for low-income Canadians that is targeted at low and modest income persons in this country through what is being called the grocery rebate. This would apply to approximately 11 million different Canadians, Madam Speaker, who are low and modest income, who are already eligible to receive the GST credit. It is a sum of $234 for a single person, or as much as $467 for a couple with 2 children. This is significant, Madam Speaker, in terms of assisting people with the affordability squeeze that they are experiencing right now. But the initiatives that are outlined in the budget do not stop there. There are also initiatives that address students and their needs in times of rising tuition costs, rising expenses, while they're pursuing things like post-secondary education. This budget allocates 40% increase in Canada student grants, which means full-time students would be able to receive up to $4,200 more per year to pay for their studies, as well as an increase in the limit on the interest-free portion of a Canada student loan. Madam Speaker, the second point that I hear about a lot from my constituents is about healthcare. The pressures of not having a family doctor, the pressures about wait lists in our communities with respect to surgeries, wait lists at hospitals. This budget is a concrete response to that particular concern. There is voluminous funding in this budget for healthcare to the tune of $195 billion, Madam Speaker, over the course of 10 years. That includes $46 billion of new funding that will help reduce backlogs, that will help expand access to general practitioners, and to help modernize the health system. For example, $2 billion, Madam Speaker, is allocated just to address urgent pressures in ER rooms. $1.7 billion, Madam Speaker, is addressed to support personal support worker wages. By addressing personal support workers, we help to alleviate the stress on hospitals and medical clinics. What we're doing is also working hard to ensure medical professionals, Madam Speaker, through this budget, we're helping to empower health professionals to work in more remote areas. There's nearly $46 million allocated in this budget for loan forgiveness for those medical students or nursing students who like to practice in rural and remote areas, to incentivize them to do exactly that. Madam Speaker, the constituents of mine in Parkdale High Park speak to me repeatedly, not just about healthcare, but specifically about mental health. And I have heard those concerns, and I've continuously sought to advocate for those concerns in this chamber, in committees, and within the government caucus. This budget is a firm response to those particular concerns. $7.8 billion of the funding envelope for healthcare is dedicated to home care and to mental health and to long-term care. There is a 988 suicide prevention line committed to in this budget that will be operationalized by November of this year. There is aspects of this budget that also address the opioid crisis, which has had fatal consequences in my riding, much like every other riding in this nation. Through this budget, Madam Speaker, we are addressing issues like addiction. We are increasing funding to the Substance Use and Addictions Program, SUAP. That program in particular supports community-led, not-for-profit organizations in responding to drug and substance use issues across Canada. $144 million over 5 years is dedicated just to the SUAP program. That will result in improved access to harm reduction, to treatment services, and things like safer supply. In my riding of Parkdale High Park, this has a specific local impact. $1.27 million is being allocated to the Parkdale Queen West Community Health Centre in my riding for their Safer Opioids Supply program. That is new funding that allows the Parkdale Centre to continue very successful work in helping people who are experiencing severe opioid use disorder access pharmaceutical-grade medications and offer a wide range of fully wraparound services such as social programming, case management, mental health supports, and trauma counseling. The approach of the Parkdale Queen West Health Centre, Madam Speaker, is focused on harm reduction. That's an approach we wholeheartedly support as a Liberal government. Stigmatizing and even criminalizing those suffering from addictions does not work. Let me repeat that, Madam Speaker. There is no point in criminalizing and stigmatizing those who are suffering from mental health and substance use problems and addictions. Addictions are a health problem. They are not a criminal justice problem. Budget 2023 reflects that direct orientation and commits important funding to mental health care and addictions to help people heal. Madam Speaker, the envelope of care with respect to health care includes dental benefits. As you know, Madam Speaker, we launched the Canada Dental Benefit for children under 12 last year. Up to now, 240,000 young persons under the age of 12 who were previously uninsured are now receiving dental care that they didn't previously receive. That is a monumental change in the landscape for low-income families in this country. We are taking an already successful pilot and expanding it through the Canadian Dental Care Plan, which is entrenched in this budget. That is what we are voting about when we vote on Budget 2023, about whether we should be allocating $13 billion over the coming years that will help benefit up to 9 million low-income families who are uninsured access dental care as part of their health care. In my respective view, Madam Speaker, that is something that all of us should be supporting in this chamber. Madam Speaker, my constituents speak to me thirdly about climate change. They support initiatives we have taken, like the price on pollution and the corresponding climate action rebate, but they ask for more. What this budget does, it responds to the clean economy of the future in a way that keeps pace with what we're seeing with the Inflation Reduction Act in the United States. Through this budget, we are embracing the green economy, green jobs, and unionized workers across a number of sectors. One sector I want to highlight is the sector of nuclear energy. Pivotal to the closure of coal-fired plants in Ontario and the dramatic reduction in pollution in Ontario and the drop in GHG emissions was nuclear. Today, Madam Speaker, the lights that are illuminating this chamber, the lights throughout the province of Ontario, on any given day, up to 60% of the electricity that keeps the lights on in Ontario is based upon energy that is sourced from nuclear energy on Ontario's electrical grid. The demands on that grid are only growing because of the much-needed electrification of the transport sector in this province and around the country. What this budget will do is aggressively support the electrification of that grid by supporting investments in clean electrical generation through things like non-emitting sources like wind, solar, hydro, and nuclear energy. That is undoubtedly a step in the right direction. Madam Speaker, on housing, this budget is something my constituents talk to me about housing. This budget reflects the need for people who are wanting to purchase their first home, giving them access to doing so by launching the tax-free first home savings account as of April 1st, so earlier this month. Madam Speaker, I just want to finish on the fight against discrimination and working to combat hate. In the wake of the Quebec mosque shooting, Madam Speaker, in 2017, I founded an entity called the Inclusion Network in my riding. And what we do with the Inclusion Network is we try and build dialogue and understanding amongst communities so that we can promote more dialogue, not just tolerance, but actually celebration of diversity. I've conducted many events in my riding over the past several years with respect to the Inclusion Network. We just had, literally 2 weeks ago, an interfaith walk going from a Tibetan temple to a United Church, to an Orthodox church, and then ending at a Jummi mosque, at the Jummi Mosque in my riding, the Friday Mosque in my riding. That is meant to promote understanding. Sadly, Madam Speaker, literally 36 hours after my event, in another part of the GTA, there was an attack on a mosque where someone used a car to try and run down a worshipper. This underscores the work that still needs to be done in this country. And what Budget 2023 does, among many other things, is support places of worship and their protection by dedicating $50 million more to the Security Infrastructure Fund that helps protect places of worship. That's something that all of us need to get behind in this day and age when we're fighting such penetrating issues such as combating hate. Thank you, Madam Speaker.